The story that you are about to hear is a compilation of documented true facts, featuring characters, events, or places that has played a role in shaping history. Please sit back and listen as I recite this narrative for you.
A former nursing assistant will spend the rest of her life in prison for killing 7 elderly veterans and attempting to murder an 8 at a VA hospital. The victims ranged in ages from 81 to 96 and were veterans that served in the Army, Navy, and Air Force during the World War II and wars in Korea and Vietnam. Reta Mays admitted to the killings of the patients at the Louis A. Johnson Veterans Affairs Medical Center in Clarksburg, West Virginia, by injecting them with insulin, causing their blood sugars to drop to deadly levels. Then she sat by their bedsides as their organs shut down, leaving them to die slowly. Mays attended Glenville State College in West Virginia from fall 1993 to spring 1994, majored in accounting, and did not graduate. She joined the West Virginia Army National Guard about 6 months after 9/11 and was deployed to Iraq as a chemical equipment repairer in 2003. She was discharged from the Guard under good terms in October 2006. Mays is a veteran of the Iraq War. Before working as a nursing assistant at the VA hospital, she was a jail guard and a caregiver who had a troubled family life with a husband who was in prison as a sex offender for accessing child pornography. Records indicated that Mays had been accused of using excessive force while working for the West Virginia Department of Corrections as a correctional officer from 2005 to 2012, but there's no evidence that the VA hospital staff reviewed them. In 2013, she was one of several defendants in a lawsuit brought by an inmate who alleged he was repeatedly beaten and abused by COs at the jail, including Mays. A background check was conducted by the Federal Office of Personnel Management and flagged potential actionable items that they did not elaborate on that could have disqualified her from being hired at the VA. There is no clear motive as to why she killed. The only potential clue as to the motive was what she stated at her plea hearing, telling the judge that she was being treated for post-traumatic stress disorder and sexual trauma tied to her military services and other events. An interview with Mays after her guilty plea was included in a lengthy report released Tuesday. In it, Mays said she administered insulin to patients she believed were suffering so they could pass gently. She said she also had great stress and chaos in her personal and professional life and that her actions gave her a sense of control. Assistant U.S. Attorney Jared J. Douglas stated that giving someone insulin that was not prescribed for them is not merciful, before detailing the painful effects men felt when their blood sugar levels dropped. Her duties at the hospital included measuring patients' vital signs and blood glucose levels. VA nursing assistants are not qualified or authorized to administer medication, including insulin, prosecutors said. Mays was assigned to the night shift from 2015 to 2018 at the medical center as a nursing assistant to Ward 3A, which housed patients too ill for discharge but not in need of intensive care. And in 2017, patients began suffering mysterious acute drops in blood sugar. In 2018, a doctor reported a concern about the deaths of patients who had suffered unexplained low blood sugar or hypoglycemic episodes. In severe cases, hypoglycemia can lead to coma and death. Stranger still was that some of the patients were not diabetic. The doctor's report prompted an investigation which resulted in charges being filed. By the time the doctor reported his concerns, at least 8 people had died under mysterious circumstances. Several had been embalmed and buried, destroying potential evidence. By comparison, from January 2014 to December 2017, investigators discovered that on average, only 1 patient each year experienced acute hypoglycemia and died within a month of discharge. Insulin is used to control a diabetic's blood sugar. May stated that she took insulin from the hospital wards because it wasn't adequately tracked and put it into the saline mixtures that were used to flush patients' intravenous lines. All 7 of May's patients experienced sugar blood levels in the mid-30s or below. Anything less than 70 is low. One of the patients, Raymond, 88 years old, had a level of 7. Another patient, Archie Edgell, had a blood sugar level of 24 after he was injected. Hospital staff were able to stabilize him, but Mace injected him again, and this time, he could not be saved. Around July 20, 2017, she injected Robert Edge Sr., 82 years old, with insulin. Edge was diabetic but had not been prescribed insulin. He suffered a severe hypoglycemic event and died the following afternoon. Robert Kozul, 89 years old, was not diabetic, but during a night shift in January 2018, Mace injected him with enough insulin to cause hypoglycemia. He died early the next morning, despite hospital staff's best efforts. Archie Edgell was diabetic but also not prescribed insulin, and Mace injected him with insulin twice in March 2018. She first administered it to him during the night shift of March 23, then again the next night after hospital staff tried to stabilize him with dextrose. He died on March 25. The autopsy identified 4 injection sites on his thigh and arm where he had been given insulin. The night of March 25, Mace also injected George Shaw, 81 years old, with insulin even though he was not diabetic. He was treated with dextrose and glucagon, but he was unable to recover and died on April 10, 2018. Felix McDermott, 82 years old, also was not diabetic when Mace injected him during the night shift on April 8, 2018. He died the next morning. Raymond was diabetic and required a specific type and dosage of insulin. During the night shift on June 3rd, Mace injected him with enough to cause a hypoglycemic event and he died 4 days later. William Holloway, 96 years old, was the 7th victim identified. The 8th patient, identified only as RRP, was a 92-year-old man who was not diabetic, was injected with insulin by Mace, but hospital staff were able to stabilize his blood sugar, but he died 2 weeks later at a nursing home. Mace had repeatedly reported the conditions of the man and participated in the rescue efforts. She even performed chest compression on one of the victims for more than half an hour, then called her husband who was incarcerated and complained that her arms felt like they were rubbers after doing compressions for so long. She even posted her complaints on Facebook about having to provide medicine to prolong Shaw's life. Reta Mace was identified as a person of interest as a result of the hospital investigation and was fired about a month into the investigation. For the next 2 years, while the Office of the Inspector General for the Department of Veterans Affairs and the FBI took over the investigations, Mace remained free. Families were contacted, bodies were exhumed. Examinations found the tiny pinprick injection sites from insulin needles on the victims' stomachs and legs. Tissue samples left over from a cremated victim revealed the truth as well. Some families filed a lawsuit against the VA, alleging systemic failures which allowed their loved ones to be preyed upon. But it was not until July 14, 2020 that the world learned the confirmed identity of the suspect, 46-year-old Reta Mace. Mace decided to plead guilty to 7 counts of second-degree murder and 1 count of assault with intent to commit murder, according to the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of West Virginia. Her victim did not die immediately in the 8th charge, making it impossible to prove the cause of death. The government will ask for consecutive life sentences. Mace was eligible for the federal death penalty, but the families of those she killed preferred the guilty plea to trial and uncertainty. She pleaded by information, meaning she waived her right to be indicted by a grand jury. She committed her crimes in the span of 11 months. 4 of her victims died within the same 16-day period. Autopsies on exhumed bodies have pointed to insulin injections that weren't needed. The veterans died of low blood sugar level, severe hypoglycemia, which would be caused by the insulin shots. Mace's official body count is 7, but the U.S. attorney indicated that there were other suspicious deaths that they could not prove. The real number may be 11. Reta Mays pleaded guilty on July 14, 2020 to intentionally killing the victims with fatal insulin doses. On April 11, 2021, she was sentenced to 7 consecutive life sentences and an additional 20 years in prison for the deaths of 7 patients. She was also ordered to pay restitution to the victims of the families. Hi, this is Twisted Mind. Quick question for you. Do you like reading romantic stories? If so, in the description box below is a link to an app called Dreame that features a writer under the pseudonym of Annabel Lee. Please click and follow her. Thank you.
Hey everyone! I just wanted to express how grateful I am that you took the time to listen to my narration. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I am Twisted Mind and please enjoy the rest of your day. Salamat!